y'all, it's been hard to make this video right here. I done started and stopped so many times. And I know it's because this subject I'm going to talk about is still traumatic for me. Not traumatizing, but traumatic. It was a traumatic event in my life. And before I get into the reason, I'm making this video, my condolences I want to express to the family of Tyree Nichols. And I think today is his birthday, or yesterday was his birthday. My prayer and hope is that he's resting in love and resting in power. And my heart goes out to his family as they relive the nightmare of losing him now through trial. I've been a trauma therapist for a long time, and one of our trainings was it's hard to do trauma work, EMDR work for somebody right before going to trial. Or we couldn't do the trauma work until after the trial because people still needed like the emotions, on the stand. And that was pretty hard to do. So I pray that she got the help and is getting the help that she needs and needed. What I want to say, if I was talking to Tyree Nichols' mother, and I think that's the approach I'll take with this, is that, and I'm not sure of her name, but I would say, ma'am, I tried my best back in 2016 to help the Memphis Police Department to keep something like this from happening to our young men. In other words, I wanted so badly to save not only your son, but so many others that are to come. I know I had what would have prevented this. So y'all, let's just get into the story. Back in 2016, when Finland, Castillo, and Alton Sterling were both killed on camera by police officers, they were unarmed black men. If you can remember, if you're not familiar with the story, the same week that they were killed, 5 police officers in Houston, Texas were shot and killed. And I remember my son running downstairs to say, Mom, they're now killing police officers. What are we going to do? I didn't know what to say to my son, y'all. I didn't know what to say because, if they're going to keep killing unarmed black men, the YN is not going to keep letting it happen. So is civil war going to break out, on our land? But, so I went to Facebook and I said, when are these, inexperienced thugs in blue going to realize that when you kill unarmed black men, it's going to be repercussions? Now, that was in July, I think, when that was posted. That same week, somebody from Memphis Police Department called me. A friend of mine, but nonetheless, worked in Memphis Police Department, and a friend of mine at that time, now let me say. But nevertheless, he says, they want to know if you'll come and help them not to be the next viral video. And I thought, absolutely. So I'm going to help my city. So I go back to Facebook and I post, hey, y'all, I get to be a part of the solution, meaning I'm on here bitching about the problem. I get to be a part of the solution. So I'm going to keep you all posted. So long story short, I'm meeting with, top brass in Memphis, going back and forth about what they need because I know how to treat trauma. I realize now it's not because I was trained to do it. I'm gifted by God to do so. They told me during a meeting with, at that time, Director Rawlins, like, you got 15 minutes basically to pitch my idea or whatever. I think I was in there 46 minutes because he knew that I knew what I was talking about. And my point was, before these men become police officers, they probably had all kinds of trauma prior to putting a uniform on. Many of them at that time had served in war, y'all. I know because I worked with them. And with how much trauma they had, and then when I would hear that they were now police officers, it'd be like, oh my God. So when this opportunity came, my thing was, let me go and help my city. So I put together a team of trauma-trained therapists. I had 3 white people, 3 black people, 3 men, 3 women, all trained in EMDR, the trauma therapy that I prefer. I'm making sure, that they're trained so that if there was a white officer that couldn't work with a black man, or here's a white woman, here's a white man, I don't give a damn. Whatever it's going to take the pain out of the memory so that an officer won't walk around trigger happy, we know how to meet you where you are. So I'm building the program because that's what I do. And at the time, I was excited about even pitching my program to Davidson County, which is Nashville, just around the country because I knew I had something. So I got the contract to work with the police officers. That was in 2016. Roll around to 2017. Now, at the time, I was working with the Shelby County Ryan White program, helping people, living with HIV and AIDS. And I grew that contract just astronomically. I think the first year that I got that grant, it was like $6,500. By the time I was done, I think, I was probably getting about $300,000, for the work that I was doing. But, I'm not clear on the numbers, but I grew that contract astronomically to the point that Shelby County did not want to see me leave them. They did not want to see me leave them. But they ended up saying, if you're going to work with our officers, with everything that's going on, basically you have our blessing. So I lost that contract, which means I lost that money. So I'm excited, and I'm posting on Facebook how excited I am, especially when I actually start to work with the officers. I was slated to do their in-service training, and that was 50 officers at a time. Every week, I would take them through my trauma programming, basically explaining what trauma is, how it affects the mind, brain, and body, and then calling officers down front to do a little empty chair work, because this is my thinking. When I invite you back to the depth of your pain, and I do that with precision and care and love, if you cannot show the most wounded part of yourself, compassion, grace, love, forgiveness, and acceptance, if you can't do that for you, then the people on the streets of Memphis are fucked. Real talk. They really in trouble. If you can't show compassion to you, then you're not going to be able to show it to anybody else. That's my approach to treating trauma, especially with people in leadership positions, y'all. Like, if you call me in, I want to know who is the person here with the most power. How regulated are they? Let me start there with the trauma work, because if I can help them with the grace, love, compassion, and forgiveness for themselves, it's going to trickle down to the rest of their staff, their community. Like, don't bring me in to work with the people under you, because they going to fall in love with me. And if you ain't done your shit, they're going to fall in love with me, and then they're going to outgrow you, and it's going to be problems. Y'all, I would tell people when they would come to me for therapy, I'd be like, look here. Now, you're going to get healthy and you're going to grow, but you're probably going to lose a lot of people because you're not going to be able to, put up with the bullshit. Bottom line, I stand by my word. I don't lose, y'all. I don't miss. Anybody that's ever worked with me and did what I told them to do, what I offered, what I recommended, I can guarantee their lives are 10 times better. I got receipts. Now, if you work with me and did not follow my clinical opinion, you probably even worse than when you even started with me. It probably would have been best that you never even met me. And I'm just putting it out there. But working, with the city, I got the contract to work with the officers. Not only did I get the contract to work with the police officers, I got the contract to work with the fire department, the animal shelter people. I got the contract to work with the 911 operators. And let me say, y'all, something that was so baffling to me is that it's almost like I had to sell them on the fact that let me take a sip so I, don't get too worked up. But I had to sell them on the fact, y'all, that 911 operators were first responders. Of course they're first responders. Absolutely. They get the calls, they get the screens. And y'all, when I work with those women at the 911, I was gonna say the 911 place, man, the stories of how one lady had been there like 20 years and dropped dead a week after retirement. Yeah. Or how many would have heart attacks, on the job. And this is no offense, y'all, but I'm looking at the 911 operator. I'm looking at us. I'm looking at us being unhealthy. A lot of us self-medicating with food because spreading wide. Now, we probably got a Louis Vuitton, a Gucci, and a Prada, but with that 911 uniform on, shit, about to bust out of it. And I'm realizing that's cortisol. That's cortisol, that's stress. I'm hearing the stories of how they're missing their kids' games and don't want to talk to nobody on the weekend, don't want to deal with anybody. You know why it sounds familiar? Because it sounded just like me. You know, they're listening to the trauma work. I'm treating the trauma work. So I'm hearing these stories. Anyway, I get the contract. I'm excited about it. Oh God, I'm so excited. And I'm posting all over the place. And so I realized that too, not to put so much of your business out there because everybody ain't happy for you. So February 17th was my birthday. February 17th is my birthday. But February 17th, 2017. Prior to my birthday, that's the last time I had a birthday party, actually. And my party, I invited people to come to my nonprofit to give donations to my nonprofit so that I could also help the officers' families and their children. Because at that time, MPD was only going to pay for the officers to get help, not their families and not their children. Now, one thing you'll know about me, I'm a very, very, very thorough clinician. I'm very thorough. It's not going to do any good to help one if you can't help all of them. So the community is showing up, excited about my party. And then, story broke on the news. People calling me. My face is on the news. Who is this? No, before the story broke, though, I got a call from MPD. And the call said, did you make a post on Facebook? They called Memphis police officer thugs in blue. And I thought, okay, February 17th? No. No, I said on a Sunday? No, the only thing I posted about was Beyonce was pregnant. And she was leaning back in the chair about to fall. All right, I don't know what you're talking about. Because I really didn't. I made that post back in July of 2016 now, y'all. This was February 2017. I didn't remember because I got the contract now. We vibing. And my page, the friend that called me about it, you see the shit on my page and y'all still call me. So I just said, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So that alarmed me. And I ended up, calling a friend of mine who's an attorney that was getting ready to hop on a plane to come to Memphis. And I thank God so much that she came to my birthday party, to my re-grand opening, to be able to help these officers and their families. So y'all, I got the community coming, my birthday party is being catered and my face is on the news. I can't even tell y'all just the stress and anxiety that I had. And I know people probably joked and laughed, about all of that. But was I wrong or was I early? When you look at Memphis police officers now in the news and Tyree Nichols is not here anymore. Was I wrong or was I early? Was I wrong or was I early? And I still stand on, y'all. I don't know who sent that post to the news. It was a Facebook friend of mine, and I'm back on Facebook. So, I hope you watching. I hope you watching. How do you feel about yourself? I wonder, how do you feel? Because whoever you were, whoever you are, you knew my work. You knew my worth. This wasn't about me getting glory because I like what I do and I'm good at what I do. You see that as me boasting and bragging, but really what it is, it shows you that everything that you're not and shit. Anyway, I ain't even figure that energy. But y'all, I had to do this video to pay homage to the therapist that I was then, who thought her career was over, who was humiliated over lies. Now, if I hadn't said it yet, I sued the shit out of the news. I did. I sued the media and I won. I wish I had taken that to trial. I wish I had taken that to trial. And let me go on record saying this. I think Memphis's worst enemy is Memphis media. Memphis media is the one that puts Memphis in a bad light. The worst enemy is the media. I can't stand the media. And ever since the story broke on me, I damn sure don't like, because I know what they tried to do to me. And so many of y'all that are even watching, your lives revolve around the fucking news. And all the news does is lie, work your nerves up, and then just drop you. That is a concern. How you doing, neighbor?
All right, how about you?
I'm good. I'm making a YouTube video. Oh, no, you don't have to apologize. But that really is a concern. That becomes a concern. It's the media. The media does nothing. You don't have to put all that shit on the news like that all the time. Y'all, I beg people, please don't watch the Tyree Nichols video. Please don't watch the video. Don't watch it. I beg my clients, don't watch it. My daughter was the first one that called and she said, Mama, I hate that I watched it. I wish I had not watched it. I didn't watch. I didn't watch, but I will say that when it was showed, two young black men that I worked with passed away, one from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and the other from a hanging. And I do believe they probably watched the video. Now, am I saying the video caused them to, unalive themselves? Am I saying that? No. I'm saying also it didn't help, though, because as a black man, to constantly look at yourself being degraded, dehumanized, how do you think that makes you feel in the inside? You got all of these expectations about who you're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, but nobody talks about all of the barriers that are against you. Not only did two young black men pass away when the video was shown, which is re-traumatizing the community, I remember being on my knees on the phone with another young black man begging him not to blow his fucking brains out. Begging him not to unalive himself. I don't know what I can say or what I can't say. And that worked me so hard, begging him not to harm himself. And so now we fast forward to watching this trial play out. Y'all, when my story broke back in 2017, I got death threats. People threatening to come to my practice and spit in my face. I didn't deserve any of that. And I feel like I kind of went through that alone, but I didn't, because I had Therese. Therese, my best friend who's on the other side now, was right there with me. And my right ear is ringing now. Yeah. Therese was right there with me, going through all of that. But I had to talk about this, y'all. I'm walking this path of enlightenment. And so I have to be honest about, that's what alchemizing pain is. And healing trauma or treating trauma is about having a witness. And that's what I'm doing. This is me taking my own wellness into my own hands with putting my story out here and just having you all witness this. Now, I wanted to do, a live about this, but I'm like, no, I don't want to get all worked up over it because that's a lot of energy. But I had to give this voice so I can put it to rest and maybe say to the media, because who do I need to forgive? Not my damn self, because I ain't do shit wrong. Well, I've forgiven myself for thinking motherfuckers would be real happy for me, because I'm doing good in the community. I forgive myself for thinking that people, that mean well will do well and support wellness. That's not the case. But, I guess my work is on, forgiving, I guess, shit the media. Hell, I don't know. But I ain't trying to work all that out right now. My heart even goes out to those 5 officers and their families. Y'all, I did a whole lot of studying police officers. So just in case some of y'all don't know, policing came from slave patrols. It came from when we were enslaved. First of all, they don't like niggas gathering now. They don't like niggas gathering. So white folks see niggas gathering, you think we about to overthrow you. Why you think we about to overthrow you? Because your ass probably deserve to be overthrown. But going back to slave patrols at the end of the Civil War, when the Civil War was over, the South lost. And so the poorest of the white men became the police officers. And so can you imagine the poor white man and what he want to do, to a nigga? For real. That's where policing came from. So you couldn't enslave us anymore. So the new slavery became the laws and the way you try to, govern us. And I talk about this in my book. This is very probably controversial what I'm getting ready to say, but in my book I talk about we don't need, the black community, we don't need pastors or police officers. We need black women that are well. Get us a group of well black women and we can save our community. We can help monitor our community. Get us a group of resourced well black women. We don't need pastors, we don't need police officers. We know what to do with our kids. And we ain't got to work ourselves to death. We know what to do. You know why we know what to do? Epigenetically, we know what to do with our kids. Because our ancestors raised their kids. Have you ever thought about that? Yeah, I thought about this the other day. It could be one reason why some white folks do so well. It's because our grandmamas and great grandmamas raised them. They were the ones that were there with them and came home tired as hell, didn't have nothing left for us. That's probably another YouTube, but you know, still. This is what I want y'all to think about, for real, for real. But y'all, you know, just what a full circle moment to be right back here. Was I wrong or was I early? Because the fact that those 5 officers stomped another brother, what the fuck would make you stomp another brother to death? And I can't imagine the self-talk had to be, nigga, I'm the motherfucking police. I'm the police. That had to be the self-talk. So the thuggishness is not in the black skin, but it's the blue fucking uniform. That's the thugging. That's where it comes from. Because when you put that blue uniform on, you think you closer to being the white man who can't be checked, who has no accountability. But your black ass on trial now, don't ain't it? Shit. Okay? Okay? Y'all blue don't never need to come before black, if you ask me. Now, I'm talking from my lived experience. There's a lot of what we talk about in academia. In my lived experience, police officers, especially 32 years of my lived experience as a trauma therapist, police officers ain't been in no good light. They haven't been protectors. They've been the punishers. You know, they've been the ones that's going to try you and convict you on the sidewalk. In my lived experience. Now, if your lived experience, they've been protectors and peacemakers and all that, I can't challenge that. But I also want you to respect my lived experience. The fuck is you talking about? It work both ways, don't it? It work both ways. So, you know, this enlightened path, I have to be true to myself. I don't want to walk around with any kind of resentment or any of that. I like love and light. I like love and light. Oh, I love love and light. That's my joy and my bliss. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, you know, how this, you know, how all of this turns out. Thank y'all for listening to me.